Have you ever wondered what happens when an entire generation of men finally wakes up, looks around at the world that's been built to extract everything from them while giving nothing meaningful in return, and quietly decides they've had enough? For decades, society screamed from every corner that men were obsolete, toxic, unnecessary. Yet now, as those same men pack up their energy, their resources, and their attention and walk away without a word, the panic is setting in everywhere. Women who once laughed at the idea of needing a man are suddenly making tearful videos admitting the obvious. Politicians are scrambling, and the media is desperately trying to spin it as some kind of crisis for men instead of what it really is: the inevitable consequence of pushing good men too far for too long. Stick with me to the very end today, because by the time we're done, you'll not only understand exactly why millions of men are never coming back, but you'll also see the undeniable proof that this quiet revolution is only just beginning. And there's something huge waiting on the other side that almost nobody is talking about yet. If you're getting value from this message already, do me a solid, smash that like button right now, share this video with every man you know who needs to hear this, and subscribe with notifications on, because we're dropping truth bombs like this every single week here on the Angry Guy channel. And listen, if you're tired of watching your wealth disappear, tired of being taken advantage of financially in this broken system, or you simply want to learn how to protect what you've worked so hard for while building real generational wealth in the smartest way possible right now, then you need to stop everything and go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. I'm talking step-by-step training on exactly how to buy, sell, trade, and safeguard your crypto like a professional so nobody can ever touch what belongs to you again. The entire academy is linked in the description below. Click that link right now, get enrolled, and start taking control of your financial future today, because tomorrow is not promised in this economy. All right, let's get into this. Men walking away have now forced women to finally, openly, and in many cases tearfully admit something that biology has screamed for thousands of years, but that feminism spent the last 50 plus years desperately trying to deny. Women need men, not want, not prefer when it's convenient, need. And the most devastating part for them, the men they're now realizing they need have looked at the offer on the table, looked at the risks, looked at the constant disrespect, the legal weapons, the social shaming, and quietly responded with two words that are shaking the foundations of the modern world: "That's nice. We told you, we warned you." For years, men in the corners of the internet that the mainstream loved to mock were saying this day would come. We said, if you keep treating men like disposable utilities, like walking ATMs, whose only purpose is to provide while being told they're the root of all evil, eventually the good men, the productive men, the men who actually build and maintain everything, would simply stop participating. And now it's happening on a scale that nobody can hide anymore. Think about this for a second. For over half a century, the message has been relentless. From classrooms to Hollywood to corporate HR departments to family court, men are not necessary. Fathers are optional. Masculinity itself is a problem to be solved. Boys are defective girls who need to be medicated and re-educated. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Remember that one? They made t-shirts about it. They put it on coffee mugs. They taught it to little girls as empowerment. And men listen, not the weak ones, not the simps who will do anything for female approval. No, the strong ones, the competent ones, the ones who actually create value in the world. They heard that message loud and clear. And instead of arguing, instead of begging for scraps of respect, they simply took society at its word. You don't need us? Cool. We'll remove ourselves from the equation and see how that works out for you. And now the receipts are coming in, and they're brutal. Single motherhood rates through the roof, but somehow everyone is shocked that children raised without fathers are struggling. Women in their 30s and 40s making desperate videos online about where all the good men went, as if they didn't spend their 20s actively avoiding commitment with men who were ready while chasing the top 5% who would never commit to them. Corporations wondering why young men aren't killing themselves for 60-hour weeks anymore when the reward is being called toxic for existing. The birth rate collapsing in every developed country because men are looking at marriage and going, hard pass on that contract, thank you. This isn't anger anymore. This is calculation. Cold, rational, peaceful calculation. Men have done the math and the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. Not even close. Let's be crystal clear about what walking away actually means because the media loves to lie about this. They want you to think MG Tao or men going their own way or men walking away is just a bunch of angry virgins in their mom's basement playing video games and hating women. That's the cartoon version they push because the truth is far more terrifying for the system. The truth is that millions of high value, productive, emotionally stable men with good jobs, good credit, no criminal records, and actual options have looked at modern dating, looked at modern marriage, looked at the family court system, looked at the cultural narrative, and decided that engaging with Western women under current conditions is the worst investment a man can make with his time, money, and life force. These aren't broken men. These are the men who fixed themselves. These are the men who went to the gym, built businesses, cleaned up their finances, worked on their mental health, and then realized that the better they become, the worse the deal gets with modern women. The more you have to offer, the more they feel entitled to take while giving less in return. And so they walked. They didn't announce it with trumpets. They didn't make a big scene. They just quietly redirected their energy. They stopped simping. They stopped chasing. They stopped investing in women who weren't investing in them. They stopped getting into relationships where they're expected to be the perpetual giver while being told they're oppressive for having basic needs. And they took their ball and went home. And home has never been more peaceful. That's the part nobody wants to talk about, how happy these men are now. Go into any men's space online where they're actually being honest, not the performative red pill rage stuff for views, but the real conversations. And you'll see something that will shock you if you've been consuming mainstream narratives. You'll see men in their 30s, 40s, even 50s who have never been happier. Men who have more money than they've ever had because they're not bleeding it out on dates, engagements, weddings, and divorces. Men who have more free time because they're not managing female emotions 12 hours a day. Men whose mental health has never been better because they're no longer walking on eggshells, wondering when the next false accusation or emotional ambush is coming. These men have discovered something profound. Solitude is not the same as loneliness when you've built a life you don't need to escape from. Being alone doesn't make you lonely when your peace is finally undisturbed. And that's power, real power, the kind of power that cannot be taken away by a woman's tears or a judge's gavel or society's shame. Because once a man learns to be complete on his own, once he builds a life where his happiness doesn't depend on female validation, he becomes almost impossible to manipulate. You can't threaten to leave when he doesn't need you to stay. You can't weaponize sex when he's no longer controlled by it. You can't hit him with, you're going to die alone, when he already knows being alone is paradise compared to being with the wrong person. This is why they're panicking. This isn't about men being hurt or bitter, though many were at first. This is about men healing and then realizing the game was rigged from the start and choosing not to play anymore. And the craziest part, the better men treat themselves, the worse women treat them for it. Think about that. A man improves himself, becomes calmer, stronger, more focused, more successful, and suddenly he's emotionally unavailable or intimidating or has too many options. Aside, translation, he's no longer easy to control. The mask has slipped completely now. For years, women said they wanted better men. Be better men, go to therapy, communicate your feelings, be vulnerable. And men did. Millions of men did exactly what they were told. And what happened? Those same vulnerable, emotionally intelligent, therapy going men became the most mocked group online. Male feminists became a punchline. The nice guys who did everything right got cheated on, friend zoned, or divorce raped, just like everyone else. So men learned the final lesson. There is no version of good enough that makes the deal fair again under current conditions. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. And they stopped trying. Now, women are making these videos, some of them crying actual tears, admitting we need men. They're admitting that society can't function without male labor, male protection, male innovation. They're admitting that being a strong, independent woman is great until the tire blows out at midnight, or someone breaks into your house, or you need to move furniture, or the bill comes due. But here's what they're not admitting yet, and this is crucial. They're not sorry. Not really. They're not saying we were wrong to treat men like garbage. They're not saying we were wrong to weaponize the courts against fathers. They're not saying we were wrong to teach an entire generation of girls that men are the enemy. They're saying, come back, we need you. The same way a child says, I need my toy back after breaking all the other ones. They're not offering a better deal. They're not offering respect, loyalty, femininity, or even basic appreciation. They're demanding that men return to the plantation because things are getting hard now. And men are looking at that offer and laughing, not the bitter laugh of the broken man, the calm, peaceful laugh of a man who has finally found his worth and knows exactly what it's going to cost anyone who wants access to it from now on. Because these men have seen behind the curtain. They've seen that female nature unchecked by consequences or social pressure defaults to the path of least resistance and maximum extraction. They've seen that the same women making these We Need Men videos spent years mocking men who pointed this out as incels or losers. They've seen the studies. They know that women's happiness has been declining steadily since the 1970s, despite having more rights, more opportunities, and more freedom than any generation of women in human history. They know that married men live longer, happier, healthier lives than single men. But married women do not live longer or happier than single women. They know who the real beneficiaries of traditional relationships were all along. And most importantly, they've done the risk reward analysis on modern marriage and realized it's literally the worst financial decision a man can make in the Western world today. 50% divorce rate, but initiated by women 70 to 80% of the time. The man loses his children, his home, half his wealth, and pays alimony for years, sometimes decades. And for what? To be disrespected daily by a woman who consumes TikTok brain rot 8 hours a day and believes she's oppressed because her husband asked her to cook occasionally? No, thank you. These men would rather die alone with their dignity, their money, and their peace than live one more day in that kind of hell. And women are starting to feel it, not just in dating, where good men have simply vanished from the apps and the bars and the social scenes, but in everyday life. The plumber who used to flirt a little now just does the job and leaves. The coworker who used to help with everything now just does his work and goes home. The neighbor who used to shovel everyone's driveway now just does his own. The male energy that used to be freely given, that women never even noticed was there until it was gone, has been withdrawn. And nothing terrifies a woman more than indifference from a man she expected attention from. This is the part where the coping begins. First, it was denial. Who needs men anyway? I have my wine and my cats and my career. Then it was anger. These men are losers. They're intimidated by strong women. Then bargaining, the current phase we're in now, where they're making these admission videos. Okay, fine, we need men, but only for certain things and only on our terms. But depression is coming. And after that, acceptance that the good men are not coming back. Not to the old deal, not ever. Some women will adapt. A small percentage will look in the mirror, do the hard work of rebuilding their character, their femininity, their value as partners, and they will find men, maybe not the top tier men who are completely done, but men nonetheless. But most won't. Most will double down on the entitlement, the victimhood, the demands without offerings. And they will grow old alone, surrounded by pets and wine and regrets, wondering where all the good men went, while refusing to acknowledge they actively push them away. And the men will keep building, keep lifting, keep stacking money, keep traveling, keep enjoying their hobbies and their brotherhood and their peace because they've learned the ultimate red pill truth. A man's value doesn't come from what he can provide to women. A man's value comes from what he is when everything that can be taken away has been removed. And when a man reaches that place, when he becomes truly self contained, something magical happens. Women start noticing again, not because he's chasing, but because he's not. The very independence that made him emotionally unavailable suddenly becomes magnetic. But by then, it's too late. The price has changed. The terms are non negotiable. And most importantly, he no longer needs the sale. This is the new reality. Men have walked away, and the world women thought was permanent is crumbling beneath their feet. And the most devastating part for them, the men aren't angry anymore. They're free. And now we're starting to see the real world consequences play out in ways that no amount of feminist theory or corporate diversity training can paper over. Let's talk about the trades for a minute. Electricians, plumbers, HVA techs, welders, heavy equipment operators. These are the men who literally keep the lights on, the water running, and the building standing. 10 years ago, if you called a tradesman to your house, especially if you were a single woman or a woman whose husband was away, there was almost always a little extra effort. He might tighten a few more fittings than he billed for. He might show up faster than the schedule said. He might even refuse to charge you for the service call if things looked tight. That wasn't simping in the pathetic modern sense. That was the unspoken social contract. Men looked out for women in small, quiet ways because society still pretended that women were part of the tribe worth protecting. That social contract is dead. And today, the same tradesman shows up exactly on time, does exactly what the work order says, charges exactly what the estimate says, plus tax, and leaves. No extras, no discounts, no small talk. No, ma'am, I noticed your back fence is rotting. Here's a guy I know who does good work. Nothing, cash, Venmo, or card. Have a nice day. And if you try to flirt for a lower price like it's 2008, he'll smile politely, tell you the price is the price. And the next time you call his company, you'll be told he's booked solid for the next 10 weeks because he is. He's booked solid with commercial clients, with other men, with people who don't waste his time or try to leverage their gender for free labor. That's not petty. That's the free market responding to risk. These men have watched their brothers get accused of creeping or making her uncomfortable for the crime of being friendly while fixing the wiring in a single woman's house. They've watched coworkers get Me Too'd for a joke told in the break room. They've read the horror stories of the guy who helped a female neighbor carry groceries and ended up with a restraining order because her new boyfriend got jealous. So they adapted, touch nothing, say little, document everything, and get paid. The same thing is happening in medicine. Male doctors, especially gynecologists and pediatricians, are retiring earlier, switching specialties in droves because the risk of a false accusation from a female patient or hysterical mother is no longer worth any salary. Nursing schools are overflowing with women, but the physical toll of the job means we still need strong men for lifting patients, restraining combative psych cases, and handling trauma in the ER. Except the men aren't coming. Why would they? To be told they're predators for wanting to work in healthcare, to have their careers destroyed by one viral TikTok from an entitled patient who didn't like being told she needs to lose weight? Hard pass. Fire departments are facing manpower shortages they've never seen before. Police departments can't recruit. The military is missing recruiting goals by tens of thousands every year. And every single one of these organizations is scratching their heads, wondering why young men don't want to sign up to risk their lives for a society that calls them toxic for existing. The answer is staring them right in the face, but they refuse to say it out loud. Young men finally realized that no one is coming to save them if things go bad, so they're no longer volunteering to save everyone else. Let's talk about the birth rate collapse, because this is where the rubber meets the road and entire governments are starting to panic. Japan, South Korea, Italy, Spain, Canada, the United States, every developed country is watching its fertility rate plummet below replacement level, and the trend is accelerating, not slowing down. Politicians are throwing everything they've got at it: baby bonuses, tax credits, subsidized daycare, paid maternity leave stretched to years. Hungary is literally paying women to have children. South Korea just announced they're spending $200 billion trying to reverse the trend. And it's not working because the problem was never money. The problem is that men have looked at fatherhood under current conditions and said, absolutely not. Why would a man bring a son into a world where the boy will be told from kindergarten that his natural energy is toxic, where he'll be drugged for being a boy, where he'll be passed over for scholarships and jobs because of his skin color and chromosomes, where he'll grow up watching his father get destroyed in divorce court if he ever decides to have a family? Why would a man bring a daughter into the world knowing that the culture will teach her to hate and resent men, to see them only as resources to extract from, and that if he tries to raise her with traditional values, he'll be called controlling or abusive? And most importantly, why would any man sign up for 18 years of financial and emotional obligation, plus potential lifetime alimony and child support, when the mother can take his children away on a whim, deny him visitation, and still collect his checks while living with another man who gets to play dad to kids he's paying for? Men aren't stupid. They see the game. They see the statistics. 70 to 80% of divorces initiated by women, 85% of primary custody going to mothers, 95% of alimony paid by men to women. They see the YouTube channels with millions of subscribers teaching women how to divorce him and take everything. They see the TikToks celebrating high value women who proudly admit they married for money and are now leaving with half. And they're opting out, not with rage, not with protests, just with silence and distance. Passport Bros didn't start as a political movement. They started as men who got tired of the deal at home and discovered that in Colombia, Thailand, the Philippines, Eastern Europe, there are still women who smile when they see a man, who cook dinner without acting like it's oppression, who actually want to build a family instead of a follower count. These aren't the dregs of society flying overseas for mail order brides. These are doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, former military, high caliber men who gave up on Western women and found something better. And the cope from back home has been glorious. He's exploiting poor women, they scream, while ignoring that these foreign women are often more educated, more feminine, and happier in their traditional roles than the average Western feminist. He couldn't get a woman here, they laugh, while the passport bro is building a family with a loyal 25-year-old who treats him like a king and doesn't have an OnlyFans. The truth hurts. Many of these men could have had women at home. They just didn't want the women who were available at the price being asked. Now, governments are starting to notice that when productive men leave, the tax base leaves with them. When men stop marrying, the wealth transfer stops. When men stop having children, the future workforce disappears. And there is no policy fix for a generation of men who no longer trust the system enough to participate in it. We're already seeing the first waves of female desperation content hitting critical mass. Not just the "where have all the good men gone" videos, but the ones where they finally admit the mask is off. Women in their late 30s and 40s openly weeping on camera because their fertility window slammed shut while they were focusing on their career and living their best life. Women who spent their 20s riding the carousel now realizing That the men they rejected for being too boring or too nice were the exact men who would have given them the stable family they suddenly claimed to want. And the best part, those men aren't angry at them anymore. They're indifferent. They moved on years ago. They're dating younger women who value them, or they're happily single, stacking money and living life on their terms. The rage phase for most men lasted a year, maybe two. Then came acceptance. Then came peace. That's the stage millions of us are in now. Peace. We're not trying to fix women. We're not trying to save society. We're not arguing on the internet anymore about who hurt whom. We're in the gym. We're in the office. We're on the beach in Thailand or Medellin or Warsaw, living better lives than we ever imagined possible when we were still plugged into the matrix. And the women who spent years telling us we weren't good enough are now staring at empty inboxes, empty wombs, and empty futures, wondering what happened. What happened was simple. We believed you when you said you didn't need us. So we left. And we're not coming back. Not to the old rules, not to the old deal, not to the old lies. If a woman wants access to a high value man in 2025 and beyond, the price just went up dramatically. We're talking genuine femininity, loyalty, submission, respect, no social media thirst traps, no male friends, no attitude, no entitlement, actual cooking and cleaning without acting like it's a favor, and most importantly, gratitude, real, expressed daily gratitude for the privilege of being in his life. Very few modern Western women are willing to pay that price. And that's okay because the men don't need them to. We've learned to cook our own meals. We've learned to clean our own homes. We've learned to manage our own emotions. We've learned that peace is priceless and that no amount of sex or female beauty is worth sacrificing it. We've learned that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who makes you feel alone. And once a man internalizes that truth, once he truly doesn't need a woman anymore, not for sex, not for validation, not for housekeeping, not for anything. He becomes the most dangerous creature on the planet to the current order because now he can't be controlled. He can't be shamed. He can't be guilt tripped. He can't be financially bled. He can't be emotionally manipulated. He's free. And freedom, real freedom, is the one thing the system never planned for men to discover. But we did. And now the genie is out of the bottle forever. Women are starting to admit they need men because, for the first time in 50 years, the consequences of not having them are becoming impossible to ignore. But men have already moved on to the next phase, building lives so complete, so fulfilling, so peaceful that going back would feel like volunteering to go to prison. And that, my brothers, is the ultimate victory. The war isn't coming and the war is over. And we won by walking away. And let's pull the camera back even further now, because what we're witnessing isn't just a dating market collapse or a marriage strike. It's the slow motion implosion of an entire social order that was built on one core assumption: that men would never ever stop showing up, that no matter how badly you humiliated them, how many laws you weaponized against them, how much you insulted their very existence, they would still keep building the roads, paying the taxes, fighting the wars, and quietly handing over their resources to women and the state without complaint. That assumption held for centuries. It held through 2 world wars, through the Great Depression, through every upheaval imaginable. But it doesn't hold anymore. Because men finally did the one thing the system never prepared for. They believed the propaganda. You told us we weren't needed? Fine. We're gone. You told us masculinity was toxic? Fine. We'll take our toxicity elsewhere. You told us we were replaceable? Fine. Replace us. And now the replacement crew hasn't shown up. The strong, independent women who were supposed to step in and do everything men used to do for free or for love are nowhere to be found when the real work starts. They're on TikTok talking about their boundaries and their standards, but they're not in the sewers at 3 a.m. fixing the pipes. They're not on the oil rigs in 20-foot swells. They're not carrying 180-pound soldiers off battlefields or running into burning buildings. And they never will be, because biology is real and no amount of girl boss seminars changes physics. So the infrastructure is starting to creak. Not collapse yet, Men built things too well for that, but creak. Power grids are becoming less reliable. Wait times for critical repairs are stretching from days to weeks to months. Insurance rates for everything are spiking because the competent men who used to keep risks low are no longer overperforming for free. And governments are responding the only way they know how, by trying to force men back into the harness with shame campaigns, with threats, with new laws, with propaganda pieces disguised as news articles about how the real problem is that men are checking out instead of the decades of abuse that caused the checkout. But force doesn't work anymore, not when men have options. The internet broke the monopoly. For the first time in human history, a man can wake up in Ohio tomorrow, book a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia, land 48 hours later with 10 grand in crypto, rent an ocean view penthouse for $500 a month, and date women who treat him like a human being instead of a criminal suspect. He can build a remote business, pay almost no taxes legally, and live better than the top 1% did 20 years ago back home. And millions of men are doing exactly that. Not the losers, not the broke guys with nothing to offer, the best men, the ones who used to be the backbone. And every time one of those men leaves, the women back home feel it, not consciously at first. It starts small. The apps get a little drier. The decent guys stop replying. The tradesmen stop giving discounts. The coworkers stop picking up slack. Then it snowballs. Suddenly there's no one to fix the car, no one to help move, no one to ask for advice. When things get scary and the panic sets in, I want you to really picture this next part, because it's already happening and it's only going to get worse. Imagine a major city 10 years from now. Birth rates have been below replacement for 2 decades. The average age is pushing 50. There are more people over 65 than under 25. The pension systems are collapsing because there aren't enough young workers paying in. Taxes have tripled to try to keep the lights on. Entire neighborhoods are dark because there aren't enough linemen to maintain the grid. Crime is through the roof because the police can't recruit, and the ones left are burned out and quitting. And who lives in that city? Mostly women, single women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who lived their best lives and now live in some 600 square foot apartments with 3 cats and a bottle of wine every night, scrolling through Facebook memories of the vacations they took instead of having families. Women who spent their fertile years chasing careers that laid them off at 50, chasing alpha males who never committed, chasing experiences that left them with nothing but stories no one wants to hear anymore. And they're angry, furious, because the men they rejected, the men they mocked, the men they said weren't good enough are now living in paradise with beautiful, feminine 28-year-old wives who adore them and children who look up to them. Those men are posting pictures from beaches and mountaintops and family dinners, while the women who threw them away are posting minion memes about being too strong for weak men. That's not hyperbole. That's the timeline we're on. And we're already seeing the first government responses, and they're hilarious in their desperation. France is talking about taxing single men more. South Korea is literally paying men to date. Canada is running ad campaigns begging men to have children. The UK is floating ideas about a mandatory relationship education for boys to teach them how to serve women better. They're trying everything except the one thing that would actually work, giving men a reason to come back, because that would require admitting fault. That would require dismantling the family court system that destroys fathers. That would require stopping the war on boys in schools. That would require telling women the party is over and that respect, loyalty, and femininity are required again if they want access to masculine men. And they won't do it because pride, because the ideology has gone too far. Because too many powerful people have built careers on the current dysfunction. So instead, they'll watch it burn. And the men will keep walking. Some to other countries, some to the mountains, some to small towns where they can live simply and quietly, some to virtual worlds and hobbies and brotherhoods that give them more fulfillment than any modern relationship ever could. And the craziest part is how fast this went from theory to reality. 10 years ago, if you said millions of men would opt out entirely, you were called a bitter incel. 5 years ago, if you pointed out the marriage strike was coming, you were mocked. Today, it's undeniable. The data is everywhere. The videos are everywhere. The empty churches, the empty delivery rooms, the empty trade schools, the empty recruitment centers, they're all screaming the same truth. Men walked away, and they're not coming back. Not until the deal changes completely. Not until the laws change. Not until the culture changes. Not until women en masse look in the mirror and realize that being strong and independent doesn't keep you warm at night, doesn't protect you when danger comes, doesn't give you a family, doesn't give you meaning. Some women are waking up, a few, the smart ones, the ones who see the writing on the wall and are changing everything about how they show up. They're closing their legs, opening their hearts, learning to cook, learning to submit, learning to appreciate. And those women are finding men, good men, because good men never stop wanting love and connection. We just stopped accepting abuse to get it. But they're the minority. The vast majority are still in denial, still coping, still demanding that men return to the plantation without changing anything about the conditions that made them leave in the first place. And that's why this isn't temporary, this is permanent. The men who have tasted peace will never go back to chaos. The men who have built lives of abundance will never return to extraction. The men who have learned their true value will never again settle for being treated like utilities. We're done. We're really, truly done. And the world is about to find out what happens when the people who built it stop maintaining it for free. This is only the beginning. The great reconfiguration is just getting started. And the men who walked away, we're the freest men who have ever lived. Because for the first time in history, we don't need the system. The system needs us. And we're not for sale at the old boss, not anymore. The price is respect. The price is loyalty. The price is peace. And until that price is paid willingly and joyfully, we'll keep walking one by one, and day by day, further and further away, and until there's nothing left for them to come back to, even if they wanted to. And trust me, they're going to want to. But by then, it will be far too late. So to every man watching this right now, keep going, keep building, keep lifting, keep stacking, keep walking. Your peace is worth more than their panic. Your freedom is worth more than their demands. Your future is yours now, and it's brighter than anything they ever offered. Hold the line, because all roads lead to MWA. Men walking away. What did you think about all of this? Do you agree that men are done for good, or do you think there's still a chance things turn around? Drop your thoughts in the comments below it, because I read every single one. Like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you liked the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.